The last patch for Animal Crossing New Horizons was released on November 15, 2022, but this wasn't actually a real update. In fact, it merely addressed a security exploit that affected a whole bunch of other Switch games. The last true update was on February 16, 2022. This update did pretty much exactly what you would expect. It patched some glitches in the game and fixed some exploits too. With this gap in time, it's fairly safe to say that Nintendo probably won't release another patch like this again. In fact, I don't think they even wanted to release the November security update, but they literally had to. And there's another very recent reason why they will basically never update the game again, and this is the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp collaboration. Previously, you could link the original Pocket Camp game with New Horizons to get exclusive items, but when the game went offline, this connection was severed, meaning that for anyone who hadn't already made this connection, you wouldn't be able to get these items without trading with other players. A lot of us thought Nintendo might release a small patch just to make it so these Pocket Camp items would be available for everyone, but that did not happen. Despite the fact it would have been a really small change, it shows they have completely moved on from the game. Whilst this is disappointing, it's actually a good thing too. Any update patch that Nintendo would release now would likely just patch out some of the fun glitches, exploits, and other interesting things that we've come to know and love, rather than add anything new. That means that certain things players have worried about since they were discovered are now pretty much safe in New Horizons, which is great news. Now, another thing that people speculated might get patched and would have been really devastating to so many people in the community would be Treasure Islands. Now, technically Treasure Islands are against the terms of service of the game, and a lot of players have been aware of this, and it's kind of led to the speculation that at some point Nintendo might try and get rid of them. People are generating the items that you see on these islands en masse. Although I do know of some Treasure Islands too that do get the items naturally, so I don't really see how that would be against the terms of service. Now, interestingly, Treasure Islands have never really been affected by any kind of update throughout the history of Animal Crossing New Horizons, despite the fact that they've been so viral. In fact, to this day, they're still incredibly popular. I have to imagine that Nintendo does know about Treasure Islands, but they've never really taken action against them. I don't know if it's the case where they really couldn't, because maybe trying to patch out Treasure Islands would affect other things in the game. Or if they just really don't see the need to, maybe it's not worth the effort, which I would certainly agree with. Why patch out something that so many people enjoy and it doesn't harm the game at all? But that worry that Nintendo might try and do something was definitely there. Especially when you consider the fact that they have actually removed islands in the past for going against the terms of service. Specifically Dream Islands that got reported by other players. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like Nintendo will ever do anything about Treasure Islands, which is definitely going to be a relief to so many people. As I said, to this very day, they are still one of the most popular ways of getting items in the game. I know there's also quite a few people who don't like them because yes, it does make it really easy to get so many bells and items, etc. But at the end of the day, if you don't like them, then you don't have to use them. So yeah, Treasure Islands pretty much seem to be safe in the game, which will definitely come as a bit of relief to a lot of players. There are also so many glitches and exploits still in the game that Nintendo could have patched out. Now, I absolutely love glitches and exploits, provided they aren't harmful and they don't negatively impact anyone's gameplay experience. I love them so much, and there's some throughout the history of New Horizons that I'm so sad Nintendo got rid of. For example, the glitch where you could go up to the 4th layer of your island and actually display items up there. Nintendo took patching this pretty seriously when they actually decided to remove it with the 2.0 update, and they made it so all the items you had up there would go straight into your recycling box. So I honestly worried that they would try and do this with a lot of the other popular glitches within the game. After all, there are so many that had gone really viral online and gotten a lot of attention. Once again, like with some of the other things on this list, I couldn't imagine that Nintendo had no idea these existed. But it really seems like Nintendo never has intended to patch them, or they just weren't able to, which is honestly fantastic news. Some very prominent and popular glitches that come to mind that are now safe in the game would be the one that allows you to put trees on the edges of cliffs. I absolutely love this one. It's sad that we lost the one that actually allowed you to plant trees on pavements, although that was very short-lived, but I'm happy that this one still remains because so many people use this glitch on their islands and it's great for decorating purposes. Another one is also the ability to glitch into objects like the bath items and such. Again, this one is so popular. It went absolutely viral when it was discovered back in 2021. And I'm so happy that Nintendo never patched it because it was one that I was always really worried about. It's especially lucky too because Nintendo has actually patched so many glitches throughout the history of Animal Crossing New Horizons. The game, after all, has had so many different updates. So as you can imagine, that means a lot of time was dedicated to fixing glitches in the game. I'm happy that these finally appear to be safe, and I would certainly be very disappointed if Nintendo suddenly showed up, crawled out of the woodwork and said, hey, we're gonna patch some of the fun glitches but not add any new content. I think that would honestly be very disappointing, and I'm hoping that Nintendo knows better than to do something like that at this point. Now, whilst it is mostly good news, there is some bad about Nintendo not deciding to patch the game again, aside from, not getting any more content. There are still some issues that they honestly need to address that I'm surprised they haven't. For example, Leaf's weeding service on Harvey's Island is still fairly broken. The amount of weeds that you need to actually activate his service is a number you only get at the very start of the game. It's not a number that can spawn into your island naturally. That means the majority of players are locked out of using this service, which is really a shame. I also believe there were still some inventory glitches with Kix too. When you get his shop on Harvey's Island, it means he won't sell certain things ever on your own island, and I don't remember Nintendo ever addressing that. There are also the dangerous items that I mentioned a few videos ago. Basically, there are free mannequin items which should be unobtainable, but people sometimes put down on their treasure islands, and once you get them in your inventory, they basically end up stuck and it's really difficult to get rid of them. So those are definitely some glitches and problems that I would like to see fixed with Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I honestly can't imagine that Nintendo ever will at this point. So yeah, it's interesting how Nintendo not updating the game could actually be potentially a good thing in some ways. Of course, like a lot of you, if Nintendo was going to update the game with anything, I think one thing I would have really liked to have seen was them to update the archways for New Year's. After all, they got to a certain point and just didn't continue this, which definitely felt very disappointing, especially as in past Animal Crossing games, they'd make items for future years going way ahead into the future. I believe even games like Animal Crossing City Folk are still getting items distributed for upcoming years, despite the fact New Horizons has stopped this already. The fact they didn't add a New Year's Arch for subsequent years really confirmed to us that Nintendo wouldn't be updating the game ever again, even though we thought they might update it, just a tiny chance of them doing that, so they could make the Pocket Camp items available for everyone. But sadly, as of course we all know at this point, that did not come to pass, so it really put the final nail in the coffin that we would basically never see another update patch again, unless it was some sort of security emergency or something like that. It remains to be seen whether this might not be the case for the Switch 2, however, as they could completely change their mind, but I imagine it won't be anything too significant, just some small behind the scenes things. So all of what I mentioned is now basically permanently safe within New Horizons unless they decide to completely surprise us with some sort of patch that I think is really unlikely at this point with all of the evidence mounted against it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below, as I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you made it to the end, be sure to comment Bob's Gang so I know you did. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for more.